this. All right. I think I figured it out. I'm going to double check it while I'm recording. Let me go into YouTube. They switched it from, it used to be in the advanced settings. Now it's like a little button right in the initial one when you go in that you press to change it. So just so we can see if it's working, I'll just check over here. There's my dog coming into the room. Let's go live here and just see. All right, cool. So here we are. I'm gonna show y'all what I'm doing. All right, looks good. I mean, at least it's better than what it was, right? All right, cool. So we got one person, and I actually finally got it to work. Cool. Now I can turn that off. All right, so working on the track. Just wanted to kind of do this. It'd be fun to show you. This is Ample guitar, right? Ample Sound guitar. This is the Martin that they have. Let me turn on this speaker here to make sure you can hear it. Give me 1 second. All right. So let me know. Should be able to hear that. I just want to make sure. I'm gonna turn the fan off in here just so it's just for a little bit, so it's a little less noisy. And then my dog might come in, but I'll push my door too. That'll keep that down. So I'm using Scalar to control these chords. So look right here, I have Scalar. If you're watching, I have Scalar right here, okay? And here's the chords. What I do is I use, I showed in the previous video the packs that I have. This is like an indie R&B one. And I never use these things straight across. I just pick random chords that sound good to me together. They're saying this one's B flat or B Phrygian mode, but they say it's G or E minor. I guess that's what they mean by that, G or E minor. So I'm using Scalar. I created a chord progression which sounds like this. Oops, you good to go back up. So it's alternating on the strumming, whether it's how it strums. And you can do all that with Scalar. Oops, I did not mean to start that. You can do it with Scalar. So Scalar has up here performance for strumming, and you can do alternate. You can pick the level of it, medium, or how much you want it to strum. Okay. So after recording that portion of it, then I use a lot of the analog V collection, but this is a plugin or a bank rather preset pack called Vibe Tide, and you'll see that it works with this particular instrument in V collection for Arturia. So I added like some strings over the top of that to make it. Hold on, let me do this here. And it's super simple to do what I did here. So I played this out, but then I went back and added in the art portion of it, or the arpeggio portion of it. So doing that kind of gives you a just a different vibe. I'm gonna actually like one of the things when I enjoy doing is just making sure this is never super robotic sounding, I guess is the word I like to use for it. So I like to go in and manually sometimes adjust these portions here just to so it doesn't sound so robotic. And the cool thing about Ableton, and I think this is in, if I'm not mistaken, this is in Bitwig too. But you know, you have a lot of randomization stuff, chance, and humanization type vibes. So, like a lot of times, if I'm doing a repetitive 8-bar pattern or something like that, then I'll select all like that, and then I'll have a little deviation. You can see down here, it's a little bit of deviation in it so that it doesn't play, no matter how much it plays through, it'll never play it exactly the same way. It'll have a little bit of deviation in the way it sounds. That's like, to me, one of the coolest things in Ableton. And you can do it with everything. I even did it with these guitars so that when the guitars play, it sounds more humanized because it's not going to play exactly identical, perfectly on. Otherwise, it'll sound robotic, and that sounds just not natural to me, especially when using natural instruments. So it's just a little trick that I do personally. If you see my shadow or hand, you can kind of see it. It's because the lighting here is backwards. I should be facing the lighting should be facing this way, but whatever. Anyway, that's a whole nother subject. All right, so you guys see what I did there, and then I'm using. You can use there's all kinds of apps that do this, or you can just use regular drums. But this is the retro custom from Goran Grooves. Another one, what's the other one that's out there? Not Tune Track or whatever it's called. Addictive Drums. Addictive Drums sounds really good, and I think if if you can afford to get that one, grab it. But the whole Goran Grooves kit, I think is usually on sale. It's been on sale for a minute. And normally I think they want 850, but it's like 250 for everything. So if you can get that one, that's cool. If you don't have any of that, then don't worry about it. Just get drums that you like, right? Drum samples that you like and use those. This is a pretty simple pattern. It's nothing to it. It's kind of more dancey, which is not my style normally, but I'm just trying to mix it up so I don't do the same old thing all the time. So on this drum bus, there's some reverb here, but that's not my normal drum bus. So I'm not sure why that's on there. I'm gonna show you what it should look like. If you go to if you go to, let's find my actual stuff I use. So I use Roar. That's usually first, and there's one in here called Drum Enhance. You don't have to use this, by the way. This is just what I use personally. It's called Drum Kit Enhancer. So I'll just drop that in. That helps the drums to sound a little bit better, in my opinion. Gives them a little saturation. These drums sound really good already, but if you need that, you can always add it to it. And then the other thing I usually put on there is Valhalla. And so Valhalla, I have one preset that I use in Valhalla on drums. And this is Valhalla. By the way, if you have Valhalla and you don't have Elizabeth Homeland's, I made a video about this. Her little wrappers for Ableton. You don't need it in other programs, but if you have Ableton, it'll show you all the settings down below and you can adjust. Inside of here is this one called Drum Air, and I usually just drop it to about 10%. It just brings a little more life to those drums, in my opinion, right? It's all just opinions of how we hear sound. And then now it sounds like this. So when I'm doing bass, I'm usually playing the bass on almost everything. It's rare that I'll draw in a bass, but every now and then I'll get the itch. I'll just like I'm feeling well. It's more of a laziness, but that you just want to draw it in. And if you decide to draw it in, a simple way to do that would be just take your chords that you played, and here I just go option up, make a copy of it, right? And then I'll delete everything but the notes, but the root notes, right? And then what you can do from there, if you want, well, first of all, I usually keep these things color coded so I know what they are. That's not the right color. That's better. Rename it to bass so you know what it is. And then what I'll do sometimes in here with bass is I'll highlight them all, just as quick stuff. I'll humanize them. You can move them around a little bit. And then you might listen to it and pick certain bass notes that you want to do something different with, right? Or have a little fill or a little turnaround in your bass. So here's real basic, simple stuff. And that works. You could do that, or you could even do some stuff like, okay, I want this last piece here. I'm going to split it. And then I'm going to take this part, shift up, and send it up an octave. So then it could sound. So it gives some movement in the bass so the bass isn't stagnant. Like sometimes that can get pretty lifeless if you don't do something like that. So I might do it here, but then I'm gonna do something different. Maybe I want to go divide that into some other parts too. And then what you could do is move them down and up. Something like that, or you could do this up an octave. Just different little bits to try to give your bass some movement and life. Something like that. You could even take this end note off and extend this one out. And it's again, it's all listening with your ears. I might push that one back a little bit and just seeing what you like. This bass is a little loud. Let's put that down. Let's just try that, see where it goes. I kind of like this where it's at. This note here, for some reason, is not registering with me right. It's the right note, but I'm wondering what should I do with it. Maybe I should go an octave up and just play it up one octave. Yeah, I like that. Okay, I don't like the way this one falls short here. So if we're gonna do that, we're gonna move it. I'm gonna almost like the legato, like put it a little closer. There we go. I don't like the way that sounds either. So I'm gonna move this over a little bit. And it's just making little adjustments. You don't have to make a lot of adjustments. Let me see if I can zoom in just a little more. There you go. Maybe that'll help make it a little bit better for you if you can see it. So if you're going to do a repetitive note here, the same thing, you might decide to split this one a little bit. So all I'm doing is setting the cursor and splitting it, right? It's pretty simple. And then maybe take this one lower, this one a little bit lower, and bring this one up. Just to give it some... And the end could be a little more, you could put a little more flair or something in there to make it sound a little bit better. So a couple ways you could divide this whole note into eighth parts. Oh, not eighth, that's too much. Command Z, just change it up here to fourths, right? and go Command E, and then it'll split it in fours. And then what we'll do is we'll just make it sound like it's bouncing a little bit. Not bouncing, but in my mind when I'm playing my bass, it's like my two fingers are just, doing like a little run. I don't know the proper term for that, but there you go. And if you want, you could just do an accent, like a note at the end or something to go back into, because you're playing the same note over and over at that point. So usually what I'll do is I'll just go shift up and do an octave up. That way it comes back. Or maybe you could play two in between octaves here. Let's see what that sounds like. That sounds pretty cool. Maybe even this one, we'll just put it an octave up. There you go. So it's just messing around with bass. The one thing with bass is it's play what sounds good to your ears, more or less than that. Because if you start trying to like overly think it, sometimes it'll sound worse than if you just play what sounds good to your ear. In my opinion, that's always going to be the better route, because if it sounds good to you, then it'll sound good to other people for the most part. This note here, I'm going to shorten a little bit and lengthen this one. I'm going to actually put this one on. Usually I wouldn't put it that on, but I'm going to do it on. And then what I'm going to do is just go ahead and highlight everything and do a little humanization over here. Just a little bit though. So it's not on perfectly on, but it's on, So it's then see what it sounds. I don't do this all the time. Sometimes I'll turn one of these off. This is Trillion, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm using. Petrucci R&B bass. I probably use that the most. It's on just about every song. If you've listened to any of my albums, you've heard it on every song, just about. I don't think I hardly ever use any other bass. Every now and then I mix up the bass, but it's just because I rather a natural bass sound. That's just me. The bass fattener is the roar, so it's the distortion that is in Ableton. You can use any distortion though that can try to help fatten the sound a little bit. And then this is just a compressor, a glue compressor, where it gives it a little punch and parallel. And then if you want, you can also side chain this thing, which I'm going to do to the kick, because the kick is pumping too. And then let's see, I think it's on 6. Yeah, this first one's the kick. So just do it that way, side chain it, and then on the main channel, I have tone booster, so you can do this on iOS too, because I use some of the same plugins. Loud master, just put it on loud master. There's your compressor and limiter. And then if you feel like it's pumping too loud, what I'll use is this to see. So see how you can see the wave right here? That helps a lot. Like it's a little loud, so I might back it off to like 4 dB, just so it has some space. And then when you play the song, you can watch it. So you go back in here. Just go back and you can watch it. Drop it down to 3 dB. And I always keep my bass at like -6. This is XLN's Life. It's a recorder actually. But what I like about it is I can see where the waves are hitting. It just kind of gives me a visual, because I'm a visual person. And you can like save this and then sample yourself, but I'm not really doing that right now. I honestly just use this thing to visually look at it. On iOS, I use BFM. So you can look that up. BFM has a metering thing on there. I think I can show you on here. Let me open up my AUV3s, and there it is, BFM. So BFM looks like kind of small here when you try to run it on this one. Good Lord, it's small. There's no way. Let me see if I can. It doesn't, because it's not made for desktop, really, is, or at least this version isn't. Doesn't really let me expand it. But when I'm on it, there's all these different ones that you can look at. Let me see if I can find the one I actually use. I believe this is it. Let me play it. Yeah, see how you can see it? And you can put it in stereo if you want. Or switch it back. Or you could just solo out something like your kicks. So you can see where they're hitting it. I mean, it's kind of cool to be able to look and have that visual. So there you go. That's kind of what is going on. Okay, so now you kind of got an idea. This is me working on the track. Now, most of the time I don't do an 8-bar for this beat or this song because it is kind of dancey. I figured, I'm gonna have to work in some bars. If I'm doing my normal way, I would have this looper out to 32, and I would just be recording random stuff. I mean, if I'm making cinematic, I'm not gonna be doing these 8-bar thing. I'm just gonna play for however long. Sometimes I'll go 16, sometimes 24, just depends. But I'm just showing you in this, just setting the bar length. You can record in, turn this little plus button on, and you can just keep recording your takes and whatever you want to do. It's pretty simple. All right, so what's next? So next is the ear candy portion of it, where you would start adding in little texture stuff that you like. Because you got your meat and potatoes right here, right? Your drums, your bass, your chords. That's your meat and potatoes. Maybe the strings is a little extra that you take out during the verse. And all I'm doing is just, if I need extra bits and pieces, I'll duplicate it to give me 16, just like that. And these right here allow me to condense it down, right? So if I don't want to look at a section, because I'm not working on that section right now, I'll do this. And then maybe like if I want to go in and do some drum dropouts, I'm going to zoom in for a second here to this so you can see it better. You can literally just do this and delete and it'll do it, or you can push back however you want to do it. I mean, it's pretty simple to do. Like I might take out all of that. So I just grab what I want out, but I'll leave the strings, leave the bass. I'm actually going to take the strings out and just have them come in on that second 8. So they're there, but I don't have to worry about them. And then I'll have the drums drop. And then I might go in and add a fill in a little bit. I'm not really stressing it right now. I don't really need these keys anymore because I'm not going to use those. And I have so many different things now I mean, I can do percussion too if I wanted to, but I'm not, not right now at least. There's this one, I've done a video on this too. Now it's just for Ableton, but you can get any plugin you want. So it's this one by KCLIM, which is like, this one's called Chaotic Synth. Sometimes it's just a random thing, but like you can. So every time I press random, I'm gonna get something new. And then I go find like a reverb. So I live for Valhalla reverbs. Supermassive is free. And then I'll buy presets, I ain't gonna lie. So here's like Martian landscape. So see how I just added that? It gave me a whole new sound. If that's not the sound you want, you go get something else. And then if you don't want something chaotic, you want something that's more controlled, that's when I go to something like Arturia's Analog V collection. And you got all those synths in there. You can sit around and play with synths to your heart's content. So these are different ones that I have. I don't even know what I want, to be honest with you. I'm just kind of looking through them, just seeing what's there. I'll grab sometimes some keys or something, depending on what is this one. Let the beat play and then just figure out what you want from there. That's kind of okay. So this could be, I'm just going to put something in right here. I'm just building up. Most of the time I just play this in, but I was thinking about doing that. Let's just play something in, turn on record. Something like that, just messing around. Might even go for some ample sound guitar. Let's do this one. Mind you, sound selection is everything. When you're creating, you're not going to have everything right away that you know you want. What's up, Lou? If you guys don't know about this one here is the one. If I was going to say get any of the ample sound stuff, I'd say get the Nylon, which I still haven't got, but I'd say get that one. Especially if you're doing R&B, pop, that type of stuff, grab this one because it's a 335. I mean, you think blues, you think you can do rock with it, you can do jazz with it. It's kind of the all-in-one. The Strat is good, but in my opinion, the Strat is like, it has some limitations. I wouldn't use it for everything, but this thing, I feel like you can use it for everything. So anyway, I'm just telling you that just because I love it so much. They don't pay me anything. So I'm using the MPC Key 37, obviously as a controller right now. But it's nice to have the pitch wheel and the modulation wheel, pitch bend and modulation wheel. And or I can put some horns in this, but I probably wouldn't put horns in it. And yes, I play bad notes too. Everybody does. It's part of it. I'm gonna mute this other sound and see if I want to just play whatever here. Cool thing about this is there's other presets in here, so if you need a lead, you just press this. 35 jazz. And let's say you played something, I'm gonna stop this, that you like. Always, always, always use MIDI capture, right? Because then I don't have to go back and figure out what I was playing. I could just do that, and there it is. Okay. And if you want to keep it, drop out some parts over here. Let's see what it sounds like. You just press 0, boom, and mute that clip or that note, however you want to turn that. So I'm not a fan of that mistake I made there, but I'm a fan of mistakes. I'm just not a fan of that one. Let's see if we pull this back just a little bit. Let's try that, see what that does. Cool. So what I'm gonna do is split this, because sometimes you're playing or you're doing something and you hear like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I'm gonna do. So I know right here is the middle of this note. So I'm just gonna split this, and I'm gonna mute for now. I'm just gonna mute this first part. I'm just muting that clip, right? You still see it though; it's there. So that way, in case you want to bring it back, you don't have to do a bunch of undo. Just do that. So then you can turn this back on. Because I like to have variation in the song, otherwise it get boring, especially when you have a lot of repetitiveness going on already. I feel like there should be something here like a fill. So let's do that. Let's duplicate this hat track. It doesn't really matter which one because I'm using the same plugin. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna find the fill. Oops. So I'll play until I get the fill the way I want it, till I feel the fill. Anyway, all right, so let's do this right here. That was tacky, but whatever. We're just trying to get something in place. I wonder if I should. Obviously, I'm not keeping that. I'm just keeping this right here. So let's see what this sounds like. So you could go in here and split this too, by the way, in case you're wondering what I'm about to do, is split this up. And then you got all these parts, and I'm gonna do some just weird movement here to see if I can create a feel. Now, if you sampling, obviously you can go sample somebody's feel. That's true. By the way, you can sample somebody's feel and then right click on it, extract the MIDI from that feel, and then use it in for your feel. Do. Feels like it needs to be like, hold on. All right, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just bring these notes down here. This one, same thing, bring it down here. See what that does. Oops. All right, try that again. This is off too. This should be. I'm trying to find. Feels are hard to do if you're not a drummer. I'm not a drummer, so just so you know. Otherwise, this would have been done already, right? Just. I feel like this needs to be here, and this crash needs to hit on that last part there. All right, this may be closer. Let's try this other crash and see if I like it better. I do. Okay, I'm gonna show you some other stuff I do with like guitars, because sometimes these sound good, but it could sound a little bit better. So one of the things I use, and if you don't have this, don't stress it. There's a ton on amps on what is it, iOS. iOS is not short for amps and effects, okay? Not at all. But on desktop, you have to figure out which ones just speak to you personally. For me, I've had it for a while now, and I use the Fender ones, so I'm going to show you as soon as I find it. Ample, where is Ample? I could search, but for some reason I don't. I don't know why. But Amplitude, I'll throw Amplitude onto the guitar track, especially on like a lead guitar. And then there's all kinds of collections and different things. You can buy it all if you want, if you're into it. I only buy the Fender stuff because it's what I would use. Well, it's supposed to be there. Hold on, Fender. There we go. And then I put a Twin, which is a very clean amp, but it's used on like stages or between that and the basement, right? They're used on stages like rock stages. Like Lenny Kravitz would use some Fender Twins with, but he maxes them out. He's on these big stages, right? So I'm not going to do that because that'd be insane. But I just leave it on the whatever settings naturally come. Turn these speed and intensity down for this tremolo type stuff. And then it just sits there to kind of beef up the sound for the guitar so it's not so thin. Then you got to turn the sound down too, or it'll clip. So I do that, and then I'll grab some reverb. Where's the reverb at? Valhalla, you already know where I'm going. I'll grab Valhalla. I got to get the room reverb for Valhalla because it would work really nice too. But this is the one. If there's any Valhalla that you're gonna get, like say you only want to buy one, they're like $50 a piece. That's what they cost. Then my true suggestion is go with Valhalla Vintage Verb, because the Vintage Verb has pretty much everything in it. You could do a good bit of the sounds in it. The only thing is you can't do is like the shimmer. There's a shimmer one, and so if you're gonna buy two of them, I'd say get the Valhalla Vintage Verb and the shimmer, and you're set. You're kind of set for reverbs. Everything else is just icing on the cake. And then you can start getting presets if you want, make your own presets if you got that skill. So I'm putting this on the guitar. All I want to do is give it like a smooth sound. I'm going to use this preset that says guitar smooth. You won't have this in the normal one, but you got to buy presets if you want to get Mind you, I'm mixing on this little bitty speaker here, the Anchor Sound Core speaker. That's not a good way to mix, okay? And I'm gonna go back and mix this with headphones, of course. But for this video purpose and just making the music, I don't mind making it with this. I'll adjust the volumes according to what I hear in this, and then I'll go back and really tweak before I ever put something out. I would actually tweak it inside of with the headphones. So this one's okay. I'm gonna get rid of this track. I didn't really care for it. I like the guitar over it better. In my opinion, it just sounds better. The feel is decent. I could probably work on, and I'll say if you're gonna do this type of thing or you're gonna be making yourself copies, make a couple different feels that you like, and then that way you never have so much of the same feel going on, the same repetitive. It's already repetitive enough because the drums are real basic, the guitars are pretty basic, the bass, everything's basic. So when you got that much repetitive and basic stuff going on, your fills need to be good. Your fills and your leads should be really good. They should stand out over the top. So that's my opinion on when I'm making music. That's how I feel about it. You can hear some people not even care about that or they have other thoughts. Music is interesting because it's a language, and yet the way it's spoken, it varies from person to person. But I find that great because then it never gets boring. Like I hate to be bored. So anyway, back to the music. So you might even go in on this portion here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more back to where we were. I want to work on this intro section here, just not really intro section, but kind of verse section. And I'm thinking about maybe taking out those snares and do something different with this first set of kicks. So something like this, put in one, and then I don't know. I'm doing something weird, different, just to make it sound a little less repetitive. See how I did that? Super simple. Didn't even take that. Cool. So there you have it. That's it for this video. Thank you for the one person, well, for all the people that stopped in and for the one person that stayed, looks like the longest. Appreciate you. I'll try to do more lives. My lives will have to definitely be an hour or less because I don't always have enough time to do this, but I just wanted to do something different today just to, just to do it. Why not? But I use Ableton for most stuff. And the MPC Keys 37 is new to me as I learn it more. I'm waiting on 3.0 to come out. I'll definitely be doing some stuff on 3.0 because it acts more like a DAW according to what I've seen. And for me, that's a huge benefit in there because this is how I prefer to work, especially when I get experimental. This is not as experimental. This is more of a nice little kind of pop dance track. So I do other styles of music. Obviously, I do jazz and different things, but this is just every now and then you got to take a break from the norm. Check out my cinematic album that just came out, if you will. It's definitely something you could do your homework to. It's definitely something you could relax to. And it's pretty cool. Like I think because it's my first time ever putting a full cinematic album out. It does have a theme that goes through it. You can see it in the titles. However, make up your own theme when you look at it. It's on Bandcamp. It's under my name, the same name that I'm tagged under for YouTube. So you should better find it. And yeah, so check that album out. I have 4 albums on there. You can listen to different styles. If cinematic's not yours, check out Two Sides to Every Story. Check out the Mellow Kid, which is more like lo-fi, kind of relaxing, mellow vibes. I have one that's a little more, like I would call it more ambient, which is the Multiverse. And then, of course, the new one, and So the Story Goes, is the ambient one. All right, that's it for this video. Again, appreciate all of you, and I'm out.